All right, folks, good morning. Let's get started. Today is April the 23rd, and we have the following. So, for the United States, well, first of all, we have a lot of economic data that came out in Europe in the Eurozone. But at 9:45 a.m. Eastern, we've got flash manufacturing PMI. Then we got flash services PMI. Both are major reports. At 10 a.m., we've got new home sales and the Richmond Manufacturing Index. Both are important, medium impact expected. And then that's it for the US. We might get some impact, however, since there's such a large amount of data that was released in Europe of major importance. The markets are connected, so we may actually see some impact from that. Otherwise, for the US markets, all the major news comes out 15 minutes after the open and a half an hour after the open. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on in the NASDAQ. First, we need to talk about yesterday's action. Now, from Friday's pre-market pulse, I did mention, well, not Friday, sorry, Monday's pre-market pulse newsletter, I did mention that we needed to watch the NASDAQ closely on Monday and also for the rest of the week because we had retraced a large percentage of the gains that we had made for the year. By my calculation, the NASDAQ had retraced, the QQQ ETF at least, had retraced over 80% of the gains that it made since the beginning of this year, which is, of course, a big deal. And essentially, we were looking to see if buyers would finally show up in force and keep this market in positive territory, at least for the first half of the year. Now, at yesterday's open, we had neutral trading. Then we started to drift up, but then we started to sell off very sharply. And at the time, we sold off all the way down to the previous session's close, the previous session for that day. But then after that, buyers showed up in force and moved the market up above the high of the day, and we closed higher as a result. So the action was volatile. It wasn't necessarily, it was bullish in the ultimate sense that we closed higher, but it was very, very volatile. As of right now, we're looking to open slightly above where we closed yesterday. Red line represents yesterday's close. Having said that, let's take a look at the stocks which were moving yesterday. And of course, we'll see if today there's more push to move prices higher or not. All right, so for yesterday, we had JD.com, which is a Chinese stock that had a nice trend up. It was able to reach target number 2 to the upside of 26.79. Topped out higher than that. Next up, we've got PDD, which was discovered by one of the members. PDD was easily able to reach target number 1 to the upside of 118.06, and then later on, after a brief pullback, it did resume its upwards trend and was able to close, or actually reach a high of over 124 a share. Now, this pullback here actually took it right to the top of target number 2, so when it resumed, anyone who was holding a position, if they had anything left, they did have a chance to possibly take advantage of that last part of the move, which of course was the biggest part. So hopefully some of us were able to get at least a piece of that action. Lulu was bullish, was able to pass target number 1 to the upside at 359.17. Then it topped out. At first, it sold off, and then it went over 2/3 of the way to target number 2, sold off, and then came back and reached target number 2 at the end. 363.66 was target number 2 to the upside. Stock topped out at 364.63. Qualcomm was rough. It did reach target number 1 to the upside of 160.83 eventually, but at first, very choppy action, so it wasn't something we were following after the first part of the session, but later on it got into a nice trend. Was able to reach target number 2. Target number 1. Next up is ON, which was bearish, able to reach target number 1 to the downside of 59.56 before reversing and going back up. Let's see. Next up is Google. Now, Google was able to reach target number one to the upside of 156.78. However, you can clearly see the stock reversed sharply at first and then came back later. The move here took us over 3/4 of the way to target number one, but that was about all you could get out of it reliably. Um, AMAT was bearish, but only able to reach target number one to the downside of 188.13. It did get about 1/3 of the way down to target number two, but to the downside, it bottomed out at 186.86. Meta was bearish, but we were looking for it to get down to target number two to the downside of 468.79, but it only got just over halfway there, bottoming out at 473.40. And that was pretty much it for the day. So we had some good movers and some okay movers and some not so great ones as well. Pretty good mixture. Now, for the pre-market today, here's what I have on my list. So let's take a look. First up, AGBA. Stock is currently up 16.8% roughly in 7.5 million shares, and it's at least $1 per share. We will go ahead and add that to the pre-market radar, AGBA, which was also on our pre-market radar yesterday. Next up, let's see, might be Billy. Okay, that's currently down 5.54% on 3.4 million shares. Of course, it's at least $1 per share. Now, Billy's already on a regular watch list, but it's not down enough to fully qualify, but I'm going to add it anyway since it is a regular member of our watch list, and it is down enough that probably you should take a look at that. So I will make an exception for that as a result. CH&R is showing up on my scan, but it's trading under $1 per share, so I'll skip that one. Next up is IBRX, which is currently up 22%, 4.8 million shares, and it's at least $1 per share. So that definitely qualifies, and we will add that to the pre-market radar. Next up is NKGN, which is presently up 9.86% on 4.4 million shares, and it's at least $1 per share, so we will add that to our pre-market radar as well. Next up is SMFL, which is presently up 45%, 46% roughly on 1.9 million shares, and it's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market radar. And next up is ZCMD, presently up 10.69%, 2 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. So that all qualifies, and we will add that to the pre-market radar as well, ZCMD. All right. I think I got some more that just showed up on my scan. Let me see. It looks like JetBlue just showed up. Yep, that's currently down 13.98% on 1.4 million shares, and it's at least $1 per share. So I'll add JBlue to the pre-market radar as well. Let's see, is that the only one that just showed up? Let's see. All right, got IBRX. Yep, that's it. All right, so that's all I've got. So if you folks see any other stocks that meet our 4 criteria, other than the ones I've already mentioned, let me know in the chat. All right, so HWH, currently up 38%, 10 million shares. Yep, okay, that qualifies. So we'll add HWH to the pre-market radar, and PALI, Palisade. That is currently up 23%, 1.9 million shares. Yep, it's at least $1 per share. So we'll add Palisade's PALI to the pre-market radar as well. We're looking for NASDAQ listed stocks that are at least $1 per share in the current pre-market. Also, in the current pre-market, they must have achieved at least 1 million shares of volume, and the price change must be at least 6% positive or negative from where it was yesterday. So we've got quite a few stocks. If you see any more that meet our four criteria, other than the ones that we've already listed or have been mentioned, let me know in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and take a look. All right. Well, then we'll call it a day then. So please be sure to like this video. See, we've got 13 likes. More than 13 people are watching. Please be sure to hit the like button. It greatly helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Really appreciate that. Also, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure that way you can get the notifications for our videos. Other than that, for those of you who may be watching this on a replay, if you're not familiar with our company, check out fundertrading.com, our website. You will see a link in the description of this video. Other than that, for everyone's part of the coaching program, I'll see you there in about 26 minutes, and then we'll go from there. All right, otherwise, folks, I'll see you for tomorrow's pre-market pulse. Have a great trading session. Take care.